Yo, what is up everyone? I'm back again with another review. Today we'll be checking out the new and updated Ying Magnesium from WLmouse. Now, just a quick disclaimer, this mouse was sent out to me by WLmouse, but of course that doesn't affect my thoughts and opinions for this review. Now, to start things off, let's take a look at what's inside the box. So over here you have your box, which is also very much similar to the box that is used on the Ying carbon fiber. You also get 2 sets of grip tapes, one white and one black, 3 sets of skates, 1 corner skate, 1 full-size skate, and 20 dot skates, some cleaning wipes, your USB Type-C cable, a 1 kHz dongle, an 8 kHz dongle, and some documentation. Now, the build quality on the Ying Magnesium out of the box is already so much better compared to the Ying carbon fiber. It feels very solid, no creaking, flexing, no rattling at all. And compared to the Ying carbon fiber where my copy immediately had creaking on its sides, which I was able to fix by adding tape to the contact points of the top shell and the bottom shell. But it was still very annoying in my opinion, especially for a mouse that was almost $200. And for the Mouse 1 and Mouse 2, it feels a lot better as well. No wobbling and no switch grinding compared to the Ying carbon fiber, which also has wobbling and switch grinding. As you can see, obviously you can't hear the switch grinding, but if you do have a Ying carbon fiber, you can definitely feel that switch grinding if you're as unlucky as me. But overall, like I said, it just has a much better build quality compared to the Ying carbon fiber. Now, first thing I want to mention is that I did change the light just so you can see the bottom layout of the Ying Magnesium, because if I'm using my white light, the light basically just bounces since the mouse is also white colored and it just looks terrible on the camera. But moving on, let's look at the bottom layout of the Ying Magnesium. Now, the on and off switch is still the same as the Ying carbon fiber. As you can see, they still have the same placement, didn't really change at all. Now, I do like the new cutout design on the base for the Ying Magnesium, and I also want to mention that the base is completely flat compared to the Ying carbon fiber, where it has these cutouts for the skates to sit in. The skate area for the Ying carbon fiber, in my opinion, was just too deep and noticeable, especially when using dot skates, and the base just feels really scratchy, especially on textured pads like the Hien and Key 83, where once you try to dig in on the pad, it just starts making contact with the base, and like I said, it just feels really scratchy. Now, however, the new skate area is now pretty much flushed with the base and overall just is completely flat. But there is still a cutout area for your skates to sit in, but like I said, it is just completely flushed and completely flat. And overall, it is a much better base in my opinion compared to the Ying carbon fiber. Now, the skates that I'm currently using on my Ying Magnesium are the Ultra Glide silencers, as you can see here. However, they did come pre-installed with 4 dot skates, and the dot skates honestly just feel very similar to the pre-installed ones on the Ying carbon fiber. The skates felt okay, but aren't really the best. But overall, they're not really bad dot skates, but I'd still definitely recommend using aftermarket skates. The coating on the Ying Magnesium just feels much nicer compared to the Ying carbon fiber. The Ying carbon fiber just has a slight texture to it. It's a little bit gritty and a little bit sandy compared to the Ying Magnesium, where it just feels smoother, but it's not really as bad as the lack of coating on my Unius Black Lotus. But there is still a slight bit of texture to it, still smooth-ish, but you can definitely feel the texture on the Ying carbon fiber than on the Ying Magnesium, where on the Magnesium it just feels smooth. The coating on the Magnesium almost feels similar to the coating that is used on the OP1, where it is slightly grippy, especially when your hands get slightly warm and moist. And overall, it's not a bad coating, and I just prefer using grip tapes on all of my mice, as you can see. The performance on the Ying Magnesium is honestly very similar to the performance on the Ying carbon fiber. The PCB that is used on the Ying Magnesium is still pretty much the same as the PCB that is used on the carbon fiber version. They probably just reused the PCBs on their remaining Ying carbon fiber for the Ying Magnesium. You can also swap over the PCB of the Ying carbon fiber over on your Ying Magnesium and vice versa in case your copies varies. For example, my copy on the Ying carbon fiber is using the Omron opticals, while on the Ying Magnesium it is using the TTC Nile transparent black dots. And in my opinion, the TTC transparent black dots feel nice and crispy but are generally a little bit heavier compared to other mechanical switches. For example, over here on the OP1, which are using the KLGX switches. In my opinion, the KLGX switches just feel a lot lighter and more spammable compared to the TTC transparent black dots. However, I personally like the sound and the feel on the TTC black dots compared to the KLGX switches. But like I said, these feel a lot nicer because they are more spammable and much lighter as well. And personally, I would still recommend going for the Omron optical versions, but the TTC switches aren't really that bad. Now for the scroll wheel, the Magnesium is still using the TTC silvers. They feel nice and light in my opinion. However, there is a little bit of a problem with my scroll wheel button being very sensitive. A slight press on the scroll wheel can easily actuate it immediately. So in my opinion, I really don't like the implementation on their scroll wheel button being this sensitive. But overall, like I said, these two mice basically just feel very similar to one another. And if you want to check out my full review on the Ying carbon fiber, I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description below, as well as a screenshot over here on the screen somewhere. Now as for the shape of the Ying Magnesium, there really isn't much to compare versus the Ying carbon fiber since they are still very much the same to one another. And since I've already reviewed the Ying carbon fiber on this channel before, I'm just gonna give you guys a quick overview on what to expect with the Ying Magnesium versus the OP1 and as well as versus the Ying carbon fiber. So to start things off is the OP1. Now the sides on the Ying are noticeably narrower compared to the OP1, and it is also slightly longer than the OP1. And as for the hump, there really isn't much of a difference between the two. They feel very similar in hand, but minus the sides, obviously, like I said, being much narrower on the Ying than the OP1. And I would say that the Ying Magnesium is a very good OP1 clone, especially if you are looking for a lighter OP1 alternative. And I would say versus the Ying carbon fiber, like I said, they are still very much one-to-one, other than the carbon fiber being carbon fiber and obviously the Magnesium being Magnesium, but also the weight. The Magnesium weighs at 47 grams while the carbon fiber weighs at 37. The Magnesium is definitely noticeably heavier than the Ying carbon fiber, but in my opinion, it's not really that big of a difference since both are still sub 50 grams. But I do personally wish that the Ying Magnesium had an option to be lighter, especially since when testing both mice, I do prefer the lightweight feeling on the carbon fiber a little bit more than the Ying. And like I said, I wish that they did an option for the Magnesium Ying to be lighter, maybe something with holes at the top over here, but still having solid sides, similar to their Beast X line. But overall, I still think that the Ying is a very comfortable shape, but in terms of performance and just overall preference as well, I still don't think that I can personally consider my Ying Magnesium dethroning my OP1 and even my Unius Black Lotus. Now, should you buy the WLmouse Ying Magnesium? Now, in my opinion, I'd still definitely recommend trying this mouse out, especially if you are looking for a wireless OP1 that is also lighter than the OP1W4K, or if you want something that feels premium, where in this case is made out of magnesium, which in my opinion does feel really nice, or if you love the Ying carbon fiber but was very unlucky with their copy like me, where the build quality on your Ying carbon fiber is just as horrible as my copy is. But overall, I think that the Ying Magnesium is a very good lightweight OP1 clone. However, if you really want a lighter OP1 wireless or an OP1W, there are also lightweight mod alternatives you can buy that might even be cheaper than the Ying Magnesium itself. Anyways, that's pretty much it for my review on the WLmouse Ying Magnesium. Now, if you guys want to check this mouse out, I'll make sure to leave a link down in the description below to where you can get this mouse, and also make sure to use my discount codes, which will be shown over here on screen. somewhere. And that's pretty much it. Now, if you guys enjoyed this review, make sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps a lot with the channel and for me to be able to make more videos like this for you guys. And thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.